quiet town in Austria, a horrifying story unfolded that shocked the world. It's the tale of Josef Fritzl, a man whose unimaginable crimes kept his daughter captive for 24 years. How did a man become capable of such monstrous acts? Join us as we delve into the chilling story of Josef Fritzl. The following content contains descriptions of severe abuse and captivity. Viewer discretion is advised. Josef Fritzl was an Austrian man who locked up his daughter Elizabeth for 24 years, raped her many times, and made her have 7 children with him. The world learned about his horrible story in 2008. The world was shocked by this disturbing story of incest in jail, which led to important questions about the man who did this horrible abuse. What did Josef Fritzl do? How did he turn into such a bad guy? This is the story of Josef Fritzl, the sexual predator who abused and tortured his daughter for more than 20 years. It starts with his troubled childhood and ends with his time in prison. Josef Fritzl was born in 1935 in Amstetten, Austria. He had a rough and troubled youth. At Josef's trial in 2009, a psychiatrist said that he lived his childhood in a severe state of anxiety because his mother, Maria, didn't love him, beat him, and often left him alone. Adelheid Kastner, the psychiatrist, went on to say that Maria only had Josef to prove that she wasn't infertile after her marriage ended because she couldn't have children. She also said that Maria caused Josef a lot of stress by refusing to go with him to air raid shelters during World War II bombings. Because of this, he felt a lot of anxiety because he didn't know if the only person in the world he had any kind of relationship with would still be alive when the air raid was over. Josef married Rosemary when he was 21 years old, and he immediately took over every part of her life. Christine, Rosemary's sister, later said of the couple's relationship, he would not stand for any disagreement. You can only think how hard it must have been for a woman who was with him for so many years if I was scared of him at a family party and didn't want to say anything that might upset him. Josef and Rosemary stopped having sex with each other after having 7 children together. After Josef was sentenced to 18 months in jail for rape, Rosemary did nothing while he went on solo sex vacations to Pattaya, Thailand. However, Josef also began to abuse women closer to home. He started abusing his daughter Elizabeth, who was only 11 or 12 years old at the time, around 1977 or 1978. During her teens, Elizabeth Fritzl ran away more than once, but the police or Josef always found her and brought her back to her home at Ibstrasse 40 in Amstetten. Then, not long after she turned 18, Elizabeth vanished. Josef told her family and friends that she had joined a group. People were quick to believe this since she had a past of running away. The truth, though, was much worse. As early as the 1970s, Josef Fritzl began making plans to lock up his daughter. Then, he started building a complicated cellar under the family home so he could keep her as a sexual slave. In August 1984, Josef put his plan into action when he asked Elizabeth to help him put in a garage door. As she turned to leave, he put her to sleep with ether, tied her to a bed, and started his daily cruel pattern of raping and abusing her. Josef Fritzl locked his daughter up in the basement for the next 24 years. He raped her at least 3,000 times, and 7 children were born. 6 of Elizabeth Fritzl's children lived. 3 were kept in the cellar, and the other 3 showed up on the doorstep of Ibstrasse 40, supposedly sent by the runaway Elizabeth to be raised by Josef and Rosemary. Josef said in the end that he knew what he was doing was wrong. He told the police after being caught, "I knew Elizabeth didn't want me to do what I did to her. I knew it was bad for her. It was like being hooked on drugs." But he also said that Elizabeth's jail time was for her good because she tried to escape home as a teen and drank and smoked. Josef also said that he was nice to Elizabeth and her kids. "I brought flowers for my daughter and books and toys for the kids when I went into the bunker. While Elizabeth was cooking our favorite dish, I watched adventure movies with them," he said. In the end, Elizabeth told a very different story. She said that her father told her that she and her children would get electric shocks if they tried to open the cellar doors, and that poison would fill the basement if they tried to get out. He beat her a lot, tortured her mentally, and made her act out scenes from violent pornographic movies. When Elizabeth got pregnant after being raped by him, he only gave her disinfectant, knives, and a book from the 1960s to help her give birth. This horrible abuse went on for 24 years until 2008, when one of Elizabeth's kids got really sick and had to go to the hospital. When Elizabeth finally got out of the Fritzl house, Josef Fritzl was finally caught. In April 2008, Kirsten, Elizabeth, and Josef Fritzl's oldest child got very sick with painful cramps. She was kept in the basement with Elizabeth and two of her brothers. In the end, Josef agreed to take Kirsten, who was 19, to the hospital. When they got there, the doctors were worried about her condition and couldn't find her medical records, so they asked to see her mother. Elizabeth asked her father to let her out of the basement so she could help her daughter at the hospital, who was still in very bad shape. Josef agreed, even though he was getting older and having a harder time keeping up with his double life. After taking Elizabeth to the hospital, he told the staff and the cops that she had escaped from her sect. As soon as Elizabeth Fritzl was taken away from her father and told she would never have to see him again, she told the police the truth. Right away, her father was arrested and put on trial in 2009. Josef Fritzl was found guilty of enslavement, incest, rape, and fake imprisonment. He also admitted that he was negligent in killing one of Elizabeth's kids and pleaded guilty to that charge. He received a life sentence and is still there to this day. He's really sure that he'll definitely see his family again and that they'll forgive him for everything he did. But it's almost certain that Josef Fritzl, who is in his 80s now and is said to have dementia, will die in jail. Elizabeth and her children, on the other hand, have been living outside of jail for several years. Fritzl and her children now live together in Austria, in a place that can only be called Village X. The kids raised upstairs by Josef and Rosemary are said to feel guilty, while the kids raised in the basement have a hard time getting used to normal life. But they are all said to be getting better together. For her part, Elizabeth is said to have started wearing bright clothes and loving simple freedoms like driving a car. Josef will spend the rest of his life in jail because he locked her up for more than 20 years. What are your thoughts on this disturbing story? How do you think such atrocities can be prevented in the future? Share your opinions in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more shocking stories and thought-provoking content.